And we're back.
Welcome back to another weekly episode of The Catch. We're recording in person this time, so that's an exciting upgrade for your audio quality.
I thought you sounded good from afar.
Well, I mean, we did what we could with the power of Zoom, but, we got to get back to the normal life.
You sounded not too bad on the Zoom. I must admit it was good. But, back for a weekly catch. 21st of July, should I have said the date? For those of you listening.
Immersion broken. Sorry, everybody. You'll probably be listening to this on the 22nd when I get a chance to get stuck in. But
you ready to kick it off?
Let's do it.
For those watching, this is where we take just a small amount of time to enjoy our show music. Oh, yeah.
And we did it.
We did it. Henry, talk to me. What is your catch of the week?
My catch of the week is a series of lectures I've been listening to from the Foreign Policy Institute, I believe is the name of the YouTube channel. You can find them all online.
When you say lecture, it's like an online...
Yeah. It's like, it's just a lecture that people have recorded. And usually they'll go for like an hour and then there's like 30 to 40 minutes of like questions.
How often do people go to an in-person lecture anymore?
Well, I guess there'd be a fair few people who go. There were these lecture series I was watching is called Why America Goes to War, and it speaks about all the various wars America's been involved in. War of 1812, the 1890s war against the Spanish Empire and Mexico. But no, it's been really good. I particularly liked the War of 1812 discussion from Paul Springer. He's a civilian contractor for the Air Force or just Department of Defense. I'm not sure. He's great. He's actually got a bit of humour behind him. He's not just a stuffed shirt. But I'd recommend it. If anybody's interested in, your geopolitics, your history and stuff, it's good. Has
he got an interesting accent?
No, he's just your standard American bloke, but he's he's good. He doesn't have any of that Texan drawl or anything like that.
Drawl. Now, when you say Texan drawl, is it... How do you spell that? Is there an L in there somewhere?
I think it's D-R-A-W-L.
Ooh, okay.
Drawl.
I asked because I just finished watching the first season of Billy the Kid. Mm-hmm. Oh, so cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. But that's not my catch.
That's not your catch?
We're going to talk more about yours, but do you want to know my catch?
Yeah, tell me.
Ivana Trump. Mm-hmm. I was going to say Ivanka Drunk.
He's dead.
Ivana Trump, first wife of Donald.
Yeah.
Dies of... mass kind of like bodily
coronary
injuries.
Thing or whatever?
Well, initially it read as, I think they thought she'd had a heart attack and she fell down the stairs of her opulent Manhattan mansion.
Of course.
But it's since come to bear that she died of blunt force trauma to her torso.
True. From falling down the stairs.
Well, it still begs the question, was it a random fall? Was she pushed? Who likes a conspiracy? Or did she have, like a mass kind of stroke thing or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
And if it's the first,
an
accident, how unfortunate.
Oh, yeah. No,
and
that's
how I'm
hard.
like, oh my God, what a way to go out. At least it's quick, unless she was stuck there for hours in pain and died slowly. That would be horrible.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to go.
But it begs the question, do people need such big mansions?
Oh, of course
with huge staircases?
Of course
Surely her staircase had one of those wheelchair things where she can just clip herself in and bzzz, up to the top floor
you would
and
think
back.
She would have some sort of personal elevator,
That's correct.
Or like a one floor. You got to have everything at one floor once you start hitting that age. No steps, You
Maybe she was recording like a video for YouTube and she wanted to capture the allure and the element of, coming down the stairs.
Maybe she was going to come out about all the Capitol riots.
Maybe we should stop laughing and making fun about someone dying.
Oh, boo-hoo.
In these
People die all the time,
circumstances.
What are you going to do?
They do. I did see there was a gold coffin.
A gold coffin?
Yeah.
Like it was solid gold?
Yeah, he arranged for if it was solid gold, I don't think they'd be able to lift it.
Yeah, that would
so
be
that
like
tells
hundreds
me
of kilos.
Yeah, so when I see that, it's like, maybe a couple of the handles are like full gold, and then the rest, because gold's heavier than like metal that gets painted in gold, isn't it?
I don't think the handles could be full gold because gold is really malleable. So like if it was a hot day, you'd be done. The whole thing would melt.
Even one of the world's richest kind of billionaires.
Well, he's not that rich.
Okay, but he's billionaire. Yeah. So let's give it to him. Do you think even a billionaire, when he's spent all that coin on an exercise and a coffin that is just literally going nowhere.
Like do
you think even those people look at that and go, "Oh, geez, yeah, I kind of wasted a bit of money there."
Well, it's so tacky.
Quick, just get it back and let's swap it out with the wood box.
Get it gold plated. It's just so tacky, but it's quintessential Donald. I mean, like if you look at all his stuff from like the 80s and 90s where he's like living in Trump Tower or whatever.
Yes.
The whole place is like a really, really like Las Vegas looking version of like Versailles. Like it's like low roofed, plated with gold.
But when
really
I've seen
dark.
that Trump Tower and like gold everywhere, it's never looked good.
Yeah.
So is it appealing to anyone, or is it just a bit of a flex for someone for 5 seconds and they get over it?
I think it's a flex, and it's also that whole thing of like, if you have no taste, like the whole spec of like, look, it's covered in gold, I'm rich. And it's like, we all know you're rich.
Yes, because wouldn't that apartment be like really cold and metallic and kind of steel, and everything would be harsh and everything, if everything's gold, it's like... And it'd also be quite reflective, so wouldn't you get a bit of a headache?
Yeah. Like if you got the sun angle if you got the sun angled at the wrong way, you'd be in strife. Like it might set some plants on fire or something like that.
Tell you what, but mate, what did impress me, and you can tear it apart if you want.
Oh, I probably will.
Was the way that he was quite respectful and spoke kindly and well of her when she passed, because she's the mother of his oldest 3 kids.
Yeah, well, I mean,
potentially 4. Actually.
He wasn't respectful to her in life, so I mean, he knows as well to it in death.
Well, from what I read, she actually went on to be like a really successful businesswoman in her own right.
Yeah, well, she was like really prominent in his construction business and all that kind of stuff. And from what I've seen from various documentaries, it was like, hey, look, don't go to Donald, go to Ivana.
But I've heard him referencing, saying, she embodied what we built together. We started all this together.
Yeah, with a small loan of $1 million from my father.
But well, what would you do if you were his age and you got a small loan of $1 million, which would be the equivalent of what right now?
It'd be like easily like 10 million or something like that.
Well, I mean, you'd go and try and multiply it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. And he did take over like the family business, but I don't know. He just
proves that wealth doesn't necessarily skip a generation, because his dad was rich, but he's...
Yeah, but it feeds into the old maxim of first generation builds it, second generation grows it, and third generation blows it. So we'll have to see what happens with the third cab off the rank.
I've got faith in Barron. I've told you, mate, his name alone, it just...
I reckon it's all going to be Ivanka. Something about her, like
very
conveys
robotic,
like a whole sense of like... Because I've got this whole thing, right, about how like evil used to be real like classy and like James Bond, like sadistic kind of like insidious evil. But now evil is like really lowbrow. Like you would have seen back
now
in...
people hate wealthy people. They think they're
not
greedy.
even that. It's like the whole spec of like, if you look at the Nuremberg rallies, right, back in like the 30s and stuff, the rise of Nazism, you know, like that stuff is built to a T to be a specific image of like class and imperious like Roman power and all this kind of stuff. And then you look at Charlottesville in like 2015 America, and it's literally guys wearing like Billabong board shorts with like Bunnings Warehouse tiki torches, you know? Like evil has just decided like, fuck it. Like, nah, it'll do the job. But Ivanka, something about her, like I wouldn't be half surprised if there came a moment where like we just get TikToks from America with like buildings blowing up and she's flying around with the powers of Superman, like laser beaming people in half. Like I would not be half surprised. Something about her just gives me that like, watch out, like vibe.
So when do you think she'll take her moment and say, hey, I'm going to have a go at being president?
It'll be interesting because I think they'll want to put her in either as like CEO of Trump Construction or whatever it's called, or they'll try and get her like a governorship or like a something of that nature.
But wasn't she quite influential whilst he was in office? Because is her husband Jared Kushner? What's his deal?
Oh my God, Jared Kushner, slumlord of New York.
What does that mean? He's like a property.
He owns and operates. He might just operate anyway. He operates the family company, Kushner Company, which is rampant in New York for all its code
Is that
violations.
a Jewish family?
I'm pretty sure, but yeah, they're rampant for all their code violations, and they're really, really dodgy. Like they'll go into people's rent controlled apartments, like they'll buy the building, and then they'll intentionally do construction work that's like brutal. Like they'll be there at like 5 a.m, they'll be there until like 10 p.m, and they won't stop until everybody's agreed to either sell their apartment to them so they can turn them into condominiums, or until people move out. So they're really dodgy. But he thought that he would be the one to bring Saudi Arabia into the fold. Right? So here's the fucking piss take. The British Empire, masters of foreign diplomacy, couldn't get it done over the course of 300 years. But Jared Kushner, heir to a building fortune, is going to get it done for America. You know what happened? Take a red hot guess.
I don't know.
The Saudis laughed their ass off, put more spy software than has ever existed in the world on his computers, and almost got into White House databanks. Like,
well, there you go.
The CIA was screaming. They were just like, remove this dude. Like, this dude has no idea what he's doing. And Donald's like, no, he's my son-in-law. He knows what he's doing. I know what I'm doing. It's like, look, mate, like, good hustle, but like, come on.
So what's the difference between an apartment and a condominium?
I think a condominium is just like a bigger apartment. So it has
So
like
is that like they want to make
bathrooms.
a tower that has like a dude who opens the door for you with gloves on? And
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's the whole vibe.
Do you find it a little bit weird that in New York you can be like a kilometre away from a really affluent neighbourhood and you can be in like a really slummy neighbourhood, and yet those two polar opposites will have varying price tags that are just obscene?
Yeah.
Don't you find that to be like a bit fake?
Yeah, 100%. But I mean,
they're all getting water from the same pipes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a city that has like over 20 million people in it. Like, I'm not half surprised. And I mean, the history of New York is a history of the have and the have-nots. I mean, if you look back to like the Civil War, the American Civil War, you were able to pay $50 at the time to like avoid the draft, which is the equivalent of like $50,000 now.
Wow.
So it's like multiple people in New York were just like, nope, my kid's not doing it, bang, paid. And then there were like riots in the streets because it's like, well, this isn't fair. Like, how come I have to go fight this like brutal civil war?
Where did all those $50 deposits go? It's a good little scheme for the government.
Yeah, to the government. And then, but they needed the money. I mean, they ended up melting down a lot of like governmental like silver and stuff to like turn it into like weapons. And people were giving in their leads, whatever lead items they had to like melt down into bullets and all that kind of stuff.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but I mean, there was no chance that the South was going to win. I mean, a place that has the population, I think, at the time of like maybe a few million against like the raw industrial might of like
the South of where? Sorry,
the South of America.
Oh, you're saying when they were fighting amongst each other?
Yeah. The South just didn't have enough people, and it didn't have the industrial power.
I feel like we hear a lot about in history about Ulysses S. Grant and the blue coats. But we don't hear a lot about the grey coats. Is that because the blue coats, are they the Confederates and they won?
No, the blue is the Union and the Union one. The South is the grey, I believe. I'm not a huge expert on it.
Yeah. Were they hard done by?
No, because everyone was like, hey, so we like live in this country where, you know, it's all based on the ideas of like personal freedom, but we like enslave other people. So like that kind of doesn't make much sense. And then like, you know, a good third of the country was like, does it make sense? No. I will fight you to the death. I will fight you to the death right now. But yeah, no, it was stupid. I mean, you can't have a country that's founded on freedoms and then not give everybody the same freedoms. It doesn't make any sense.
So you talked earlier about your catch about these lectures on the history and the explanation around why America goes to war. And then I've segued to my catch, which is Trumpy, and he seems to be one of the presidents that went to the least amount of wars.
Well, the thing about it is, one thing I learned from this lecture series is the wartime powers of the American president have never been clearly defined. Like they gain an extreme amount of executive power. Like, for example, they have complete control over government spending. So like the atom bomb project, and I believe the plane to fly it to Japan cost at the time multiple billions of dollars, like over $2 billion, right? So that's, you know, a crazy amount of money today, adjusted for inflation. And because of all that kind of stuff, FDR was just like, yep, boom, signed. Like, off it goes, get it done. Congress had no ability to, you know, look at that. They had no ability to be like, nah, that's too much money. So now the way it works is under US law, it's technically not an act of war to drone strike somebody.
Really?
So an official act of war under the US law is it has to be human troops in a place for 30 days or longer, and then the president has to inform Congress about, like, this is what I'm doing, right? But drones, all that kind of stuff, nah, you're all good. So you don't need to inform about all that. It's all you can look it up. It's the oh god, what is it called? It's like the Use of Military Force Act or something, but it all comes out of September 11th. But
so looking at the Ukraine, that's definitely an act of war.
Yeah, that's an.
But that's according to America's directives. That's
war.
Russia would say that.
Like an act of war. One thing I learned from this lecture series as well is usually defined by the person who's the victim of it. So, like, for example, in the before all this Ukraine and Georgia stuff, in Estonia, which I didn't know this, but thank you, lecture series again, is the most wired country on earth. So like it's almost a cashless society in terms of how like connected it is, which is weird because you wouldn't think Estonia like would be that G'd up. But they moved a statue of a Russian soldier from a city square, and they were going to move it to like a park. So the Russian government cyber attacked them and shut down everything for like 30 days, right? The internet was completely off. And you can imagine for a society that's that connected, massive damage. But is that an act of war? Yeah, technically, because it's caused a lot of harm. But Estonia didn't turn around and be like, we declare war on Russia, because, you know, they would violently lose that war. But yeah, so it's weird. It's sort of
so they can tell when they're moving a statue through chatter or through satellite imagery.
I think it wasn't really a secret. I think Estonia was just like, yeah, this will be chill. And then Russia was just like, how dare you? How very dare you? But of course, Putin's whole thing is Vladimir Putin, for those who don't know, came up in the KGB before the fall of the Soviet Union. He was a KGB colonel, so he's hard to the wall, like communist Soviet Union, Soviet imperialism. Soviet imperialism, there's an oxymoron for you if you've ever had one. Yeah, so he really wants to reestablish that whole like pre-World War I Russian Empire.
So where are all the people our age and slightly older who get the way of the Western world and freedom and equality? I mean, that's a progressed country, Russia. They are very intelligent.
I mean, they're advanced.
People.
Intelligence is a strong word for it.
Well, you know they are, because look at all the Russian expats around the world who've just dominated. Where are all those? Where's all that class of people speaking out? Like, I understand the whole thing in China about Jack Ma and how they talk about, you know, where's Jack Ma, and because he was the reference point almost for the person you'd say, well, look, he's an exponent of a communist country like China. However, he's made it in America. He's travelled and studied around the world.
Yeah.
Where is that class of people in Russia? Why aren't they speaking out? Or do more of them than we realise actually feel aligned to some of the narrative over there? And are we maybe getting not the full narrative here?
Well, the whole problem with it is all of the media is state controlled. So all your newspapers, all your internet websites, all your TV news, that's all.
So is there
controlled.
Facebook in Russia?
I don't think so anymore. But
Really?
even then, like Russia was one of the first countries, along with China, to figure out, you know, like, hang on, everybody's on these websites. Why don't we just fill, you know, massive sheds with like hundreds upon hundreds of state employees who then co-opt the opinion by, you know, creating like, if each of these people has like 50 fake accounts and there's like thousands upon thousands of them, you're talking like millions of posts and stuff. It's pretty easy to co-opt. So
fake accounts, don't go there, mate.
Yeah, well, the whole
Twitter
spec of
deal
it,
falling over. Too many fake accounts.
too many, the bots.
I just saw today Elon's on a yacht celebrating someone's
He did not look
wedding.
good in that
He
photo.
did not. He got James Packard. He got body shamed and papped, which is a whole other conversation in itself, because
Very true.
it's not fair that you can do it to a guy,
Yeah.
but you can't do it to a girl. You shouldn't be able to do it to anyone.
No,
but
you
it's
should
like,
be able to do it.
yeah, but by the same token, it's like that would affect him. No
Yeah,
matter who
but
you
I mean,
are,
like-
he would hate seeing his body in that shape plastered around the world with the commentary that comes with it.
For sure, but also, like, what's he going to do? Wipe his tears with like $100 notes? Like, come on! Like, if you're that rich,
but
you would be able to afford a private chef to make you like meals that are nutritious and delicious. Which
Yeah,
totally
but
removes
he's
one of the
human
main
like you
things.
and I. He wants to have a snack or a splurge every now and then, and that's okay. He, like, I think everyone cares about
which is all well and good.
feeling and looking good.
But you've got to go back to the ancient tale of Icarus, right? Like, if you want to fly and you get too
Isn't
close
that a documentary on Lance Armstrong and the Tour de France, Icarus?
Well, it's named after. You've heard the story of Icarus, right?
Sort of, not really.
It's
I'm
the
not
guy,
as much of a history buff as you.
Well, it's mythology, but anyway, we'll let that slide. Icarus, his dad creates for him these wax wings so he can fly, right?
Yep.
And the dad turns around to him, he's like, all right, Icarus, so now you can fly, but don't get too close to the sun, right? Icarus, of course, being a kid, is like, no, and flies too close to the sun, his wax wings melt, and then he falls into the sea and dies, right? So the whole spec of it is, if you're going to reach for the sun, then you got to expect to get burnt, you know? Like, you can't be the world's richest man and not have a bit of scrutiny, you know?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
well,
if you
he's
wanna
not
just
complaining about it, but I just see that and I
You want to
go,
live your private life.
yes, but like who, obviously,
Nobody told you to get on Twitter. Nobody told you to go be
no,
on
but
Joe Rogan.
obviously more people like to click on an article, body shaming Elon Musk than you and I realize. I mean, I was one of them.
100%.
So
yes,
it just pisses me off because I'm like, nothing's good coming of that. And why was I interested in seeing him?
Yeah, but also tough shit. Like, I mean, we all know
he probably doesn't care.
We all know, like, in our heart of hearts, that there are just people who are like hideous to look at, right? Like, I mean, there's just people where you're just like, Christ, that does not look great, right? And I mean, it's totally built on personal preference. But like, at the end of the day, sorry, dude. Like, you know, if you look shit, then people are going to tell you look shit if you're mega famous. Like, oh no. I get paid like multiple millions of dollars to pretend to be Iron Man and people are making fun of me. Like, shut up. Get a lid, you know?
Yeah. Get a lid.
Get a lid.
Get a lid.
Get a lid. Go down to the Coles Tupperware section. I will buy it for you. Get a fucking lid.
I love that. All right. Well, on that note, that's our weekly catch. Henry Glenn, how'd you feel?
Brandon Burns, always good.
Yeah?
You want to tell the people where they can go if they want to get their own podcast, mate?
Well, now that the music's playing, if you want to get your own podcast like this with funky, cool music, head to gettorched.com. GETTORCHT.com. Or if you want help with content, video, you know, getting your brand out there, like Elon, this is where it's at.
100%.
What are the socials, brother?
You can find The Catch Podcast at The Catch Podcast Social on Facebook and Instagram. We've run a few polls and all that kind of stuff that you got to get stuck into. And if you want to hit us up on Twitter, we're Catch with a capital C _ podcast with a capital P _.